Canelo really, I mean, what do you think happened? Like, really, I mean, in your heart of hearts, do you think he was really trying to get an advantage over you guys, or was it a simple mistake at this point?
I have to give the man the benefit of the doubt until he messes up. That's what my father always said. You give a man a chance to prove you wrong. He produced all the documents that they required. He said he ate the meat. To me, he ate the meat.
What do you think about Charlo calling him out after his fight, saying he wants Triple G? Is that a legitimate fight, or did you need more time for that fight, Abel? What do you think?
You know what? Before Saturday, everybody was asking me about the other guy, the IBF guy.
Yeah.
You know? Now he's the flavor of the week now. And if Murata wins next week, they're going to be asking me about Murata. No disrespect to anybody. But there's a lot of promoters and managers in this room disguised as journalists. Everybody knows what the next step should be, but yet nobody's ever had a chance to guide a fighter. Everybody's got an opinion. Like I said, last week they were talking about Derevchenko. This week they're talking about Charlo. What's going to be next week? The unfortunate thing is that you guys don't realize that there was a short period of time, and let me go back even further. Back in 2016, in September, we fought Khan. And then we were supposed to fight. I wanted him to fight like the fans want him 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah.
And we proposed the fight in October to Jacobs. The same people that have Jacobs, manager and trainer, have Derevchenko. But yet at that day they said that their fighter needed 12 weeks to prepare for a fight against Golovkin. How come Derevchenko can be ready in 3 weeks? I don't get that. I think it's just, and you guys fall for it. You guys you just hook, line, and sinker. And what happens is that, I'll ask you another question. Has that guy been tested?
Charlo?
No, Derevchenko, the guys you guys were pushing 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. He hasn't been tested. He hasn't submitted himself to any kind of test.
Yeah.
So are we starting again the same thing that fight falls out? The only reason he's fighting on the 5th is because we didn't listen to any of the criticism, and we didn't listen to any of the criticism that we know in our hearts that it can't be made. So if it can't be made, why even worry about it? So we went in a direction where a fight can be made for the 5th. For the fans. If Gennady is going to fight 3 or 4 times a year like everybody wants, like you guys keep saying, it's impossible for him to fight the elite fighters 3 or 4 times a year. Impossible. Because there's not that many elite fighters. He'd be fighting Joshua in 2 years. He'd run out of elite fighters. So these fights have to happen for him to fight 3 or 4 times a year. It's impossible for him not to fight these fights without, and if they want him to fight 3 or 4 times a year. And Chavez had those fights, Hopkins had those fights. Go back and look at the records. These fights are necessary to give the fans what they are asking for, and that's Gennady in the ring.
Abel, real quick, last question. And I know you guys focus on May 5th, but was there any added pressure to make something happen, being that Ryan Garcia is going before you guys on May 4th?
Who cares about Ryan Garcia? That's a kid with 14 fights. That's a kid with this. Who cares? Who cares?
He's like,
really,
when he fights
somebody, when he fights a young Gennady Golovkin, you got to be kidding me.
He has power. He's knocking people out. That's what I mean. He's not Gennady by any sense of the characteristics of how he fights.
He has to fight somebody first. Yeah. Fight somebody first, and then tell me about Ryan Garcia. He's a good little fighter, but he's got a long ways to go. You know what? You have to understand. Again, you guys get misled. I think misled. I sat in a room with Eric Gomez one day. And Eric Gomez, we're talking about a particular fighter, and Eric Gomez says, these fighters don't understand. In the first 13, 14 fights, these are wins by design. These are wins that you're supposed to win. Now, once you start fighting somebody, then you can come back and tell me about Ryan Garcia.
The way that he's been doing it.
It doesn't matter. You can hit a bag just as hard. You can hit mitts just as hard. That's all flash. Let him fight somebody that punches back.
Yeah.
Okay?
So his potential, you can't really rate it right now?
You can't rate it right now. He hasn't fought anybody, man. You got to be kidding me. Put him in there. If he's that hot of a prospect, of course, Golden Boy's not going to do that, because you don't do that when you're trying to build a prospect. Put him in there with somebody that can fight. And then once you put him in there with somebody that can fight, then you can ask me that question.
I mean, how